There are 4 types of parenting styles: authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and neglectful.
So there's a couple of differences. So really the way I like to explain to folks to make it easiest is if you want to think about the combination of warmth, expectations, and ability to negotiate. So as we just talked about authoritarian parenting, there is high expectations and a lower level of warmth and very little room to negotiate. Whereas with permissive parenting, you kind of go in the opposite direction. There is high warmth, lots of opportunities to negotiate, but very low expectations. So with those kids, you may see tons of decision making, lots of emotional connectiveness, but they may be woefully unprepared in terms of problem solving or being able to manage responsibilities. Whereas with authoritative parenting, you get a mix of both, where the warmth is high, but the expectations are high too. And so you are not forgetting that the parents are still the ones in charge. And then a fourth style that doesn't get talked about much is what we call kind of neglectful parenting, where it's low warmth and low expectations. And so kids are kind of left to parent themselves. A kid may not be used to having to negotiate, and so they may not have those social skills as they get older, and you need to learn problem solving and how to manage relationships as you get older, and so they may be a bit unprepared in those skills.
Adolescents under strict parental control can exhibit more aggression and can cope with their lack of autonomy by becoming completely opposed and rebelling against their parents' demands. This oppositional defiant behavior is typically characterized by anger and resistance.
There's a lot of things that can go into rebellious behavior. One, what do the kids end up getting out of it? You know, if it's reinforced in some way, maybe being rebellious is the one way you can get your point across in your family. Maybe. But you also see the other side where maybe kids are too afraid to rebel. So it really depends a lot on family dynamics, how a kid has learned to cope, and those kind of behaviors, as well as for parents, how they react to it too.
Children with authoritarian parents tend to behave more aggressively. Early antisocial, violent behavior can be a predictor of more violent behavior later in life. Authoritarian parenting style lacks warmth, which leads to lower self-esteem in children. Lower self-esteem can cause delinquent and rebellious behavior, as the juvenile who has low self-worth will attempt to sustain their self-worth by committing delinquent acts, often with the support of a group who admires delinquent behavior. Low self-esteem can also be caused by doing poorly academically. Children with authoritarian parents have a harder time focusing due to worse executive control, which is a function in the brain which inhibits distractions, although only parents who exhibit physical punishment and verbal hostility have seemed to have an effect on focus. Authoritarian parenting has many negative effects on children.
For some kids, if they tend to be of a more internalizing coping style, you may see things like more anxiety, more bottling things up, more perfectionism, really trying to rule follow. But in other cases, if your child tends to be more externalizing in style of coping, that's where you may see some of those outward acting out behaviors.